Hi, this is Mark from Altcoin Buzz, your technical analyst, and we're going to take a look today at Bitcoin on the USD one-day charts. As we start to wrap up this week, there's been a lot of great action happening in Bitcoin. We're going to take a look at that. And this weekend, we're going to have a little bit of a double header. Maddie's out on vacation, so today we'll look at Bitcoin pretty in depth, and then we'll just look at it as we wrap up the week tomorrow, along with some Litecoin, Ethereum, and Engine. If there's anything else that you'd want us to look at on the altcoin side from a technical analysis standpoint, just let me know, and I'll try and get to those tomorrow. And before we get started on the Bitcoin charts, I do want to remind you that you can follow me on crypto_old on Twitter. You'll be in the inner circle. When I'm not able to make videos, I post stuff up there all week long. It doesn't cost you anything. You can just see what I'm thinking at the time as I'm looking at the charts. And I would suggest that you follow a bunch of people, either on Twitter or in other social media areas, and get different perspectives. What you'll find is that because technical analysis follows some theories, many people will be looking at the same kinds of things. Then you can develop your own opinion and start learning it on your own. And voila, from there, you're a millionaire. So let's get started on Bitcoin. All right, let's start off on Bitcoin on the USD 4-hour chart. And right now we're looking at the 4-hour chart on Bitstamp. What we've got up here is we've got the regression trend set up, this purple and red box with the blue line on the top and the bottom. And that, if you think of it as like a Bollinger Band, however, the band is linear and it's set up in that range that you've placed it in rather than looking at it on the whole chart. And it helps out when you've got these big moves like we had back here and that band gets super expanded and bubbled out. This can tell us exactly, much like the Bollinger Band, where in this trading range, the midpoint is, the highs and the lows are. And you can find that if you're in TradingView in the trend line toolbox under at the bottom at regression trend. So you simply draw it from the point that you're looking at to the point that it ends. And you can see right now in this regression trend, here's our upper end of what you would typically look at as the Bollinger Band. Here's our midline and here's our lower end. We are at the top of that band, if you will, right now, and we're trying to find support at the top of it. That support that we're looking for to happen is at about 56.50. So we're trying to find support there at about 56.50, or at this red dotted line. You can see this trend line right back in here. We're trying to find support or maintain support there at roughly right now at about 55.50. So we got about $100 range between this upper band area and this red trend line that we have going on in the short term. Based upon the high volume trading areas on the VPVR, here's our support box. So we really don't want to break below that. That happens to also be where our midline is converging on that blue support box. So on the bullish side, we're continuing to make higher highs and we're continuing to make higher lows. Again, on the bullish side, at least on the 4-hour chart, we broke out of this bearish divergence pattern that we had going on. That bearish divergence actually played out about here. We took that pretty fairly large dump down, started to find some support back again on the RSI, and broke out of that bearish divergence pattern right back here on this last move up. The MACD trying to find support on that signal line. We've got the histogram trending up. There's still some momentum in the 4-hour charts. Now we got to go up in time scale to see how that momentum might be playing out. But on the lower time frames, Bitcoin is doing okay here right now. When we move up into the one-day chart, you can start seeing where that resistance starts to play in. The green box right now is support from 55.25 to about 53.50. So that's where we're looking for support to hang in there. We're on a TD7 right now. We've been hitting 9s for the last few runs up. You can see we hit a 9 here. That was actually a bleeding 9. We hit a 9 right here, and we're now at a 7. Theoretically, that next 9 could be at the top of this resistance box right now, set at about $5,900. The lagging span on the Ichimoku chart you can see right now is it's in a very healthy range. We're trending right at a price action level and right at the support on that lower end of the resistance box, potentially. You can see how these boxes are both lining up not only with the Ichimoku cloud back in here with some resistance, some support down in here, some pretty significant support down in here, but you can also see it's lining up with the volume by price index over here to the right, where we have these high volume trading areas. We do have shorts piling up, so yes, there is that potential of that short squeeze or people starting to cover their shorts. If that starts to happen and we can get above this box in the $5,900 area, it wouldn't be too hard to foresee getting up in this next high volume area for Bitcoin at $6,400. There's not a whole lot of resistance that's going to happen once we break out of this box. Additionally, on the 1 day, our Connors RSI is coming into oversold territory, so on a short-term time frame, that's looking pretty positive. The squeeze indicator that we've been looking at is the histogram's ticked up into the green. We're looking pretty decent there as well. So it looks like Bitcoin could continue up and start testing the upper area of this resistance box at about $5,900. Those are the bullish signals that I'm seeing on Bitcoin right now. Let's take a look at a couple of the bearish things that I'm seeing. If we just look at some of the moving averages right now, that 7-day moving average off the 15 had a very nice bounce. But we've got this collision course right now with the 100-day and the 200-day coming into a collision course. Could have the 100-day rejecting the 200-day moving average. And then we would find that happening sometime probably around the middle of this month. So theoretically, could we see a price move up to the top of this resistance box and then a shot back down based upon a rejection of that 200 and 100-day moving average? Absolutely. Where would that take us? Let's take a look at some other time frames. If we start looking at the weekly, and remember we got this weekly candle that's getting ready to close right now. We've got a long-term trend line that we could use acting as resistance back here in 2012, and then a lot of support since 2013. That's a very strong trend line for us, very long-term, and we can see that that is starting to act as resistance for us right now on the weekly time frame. We also have this historical 2018 support line horizontally that will act as resistance. So we're coming up on two very historical long-term trend lines that will act as resistance for us. We've been looking at this potential cup and handle, and you can see that the handle is really starting to form. Theoretically, you could say it was just a breakout of that handle. I tend to think that this cup and handle, the cup part of it, will go all the way back up to the $6,400 area before we start seeing the handle form. Whether that comes in the form of retracement or whether that comes in consolidation up against this line, I think it's more likely that the top of that cup is going to be in that $6,000, $6,300 range. If we look at the Ichimoku cloud right now, we've got this resistance area back in here at about where we're at right now, right? The $5,600, $5,700 area. We got another resistance area, obviously, because that's historical, back up in here. And long-term trend lines that we're going to be fighting against, along with some other moving averages. It wouldn't be surprising to see with the short-term momentum getting up into the lower end of this kind of resistance box that's going to form on the historicals at about 6,064. Wouldn't be out of the question to see that happening, but to continue to shoot through there and up to try and find support back in the $6,400 area, to me, is a long shot compared to a short-term uptrend, finding resistance somewhere in the $6,000, $6,100 range, a retracement back down for the short term, or some healthy consolidation, but completing this cup and handle, which on a measured move, if we take the bottom of that cup, somewhere, let's just call it even right in here, and that move up to the top would be about 90%. If that measured move happened out of the cup and handle, and let's just say that we had some consolidation happen after a little bit of retracement back in here somewhere mid-July, so then you're looking at somewhere around $11,000 or $12,000 once that move takes place. So where would I start getting concerned on the cup and handle and whether or not that's going to get completed in that time frame? Well, if we break below where this support looks to be right now, somewhere in that $5,100, $5,200 range, then the most likely area for support comes back down into here, which is back in that $4,000 area. So you have probably seen in some previous posts that I'm thinking that there's going to be another rebuying opportunity somewhere in that $4,000 to $4,200 range, this area of support that we have back here. And yes, I think down the road we still have that opportunity that we'll get another, or at least a buying opportunity. We'll probably get a buying opportunity here at about $5,100. I wouldn't be surprised if we get another buying opportunity here in that $4,000 area again before we see that launch back up on Bitcoin. There's going to have to be some things that are playing out still to watch, again, like this cup and handle and how we react to resistance up in this prior support area for us. But for the short term, I think we still have a little bit of room to run. Looking at something like the weekly chart, looking at something like the monthly chart, those things are much stronger indicators. A lot can happen within days and hours, right? But when you start rolling up those weeks, you start rolling up those months, all that fluctuation is taken into account there. So I'm not going to be surprised if we hit in those upper ranges as we enter into the beginning of the week. And I'm also not going to be surprised if we get rejected from those areas to have a significant correction before we make the next big move up. Anyway, that'll wrap it up for now. If you haven't followed me on Twitter, please make sure you do, because that's where I'm going to post stuff when I can't get videos made. And you might have seen some of this stuff already from those posts, because I'm taking that information and using some of it here. Also follow us on altcoinbuzz.io for all that up-to-date news that's coming out on the fundamentals throughout the week from our great writers. And until next time, may all your trades be good ones.